lies. It was just
bullshit. What's the difference?
It wasn't lies. It was
just bullshit. The proper way to say it. No lies, just bullshit. The proper way to say it. No lies, just bullshit. The proper way to say it. No lies, just bullshit. The proper way to say it. No lies, just bullshit.
Who said liar? I said bullshit artist. And what's the difference? Because I don't lie. Never.
Hello and welcome to No Lies Just Bullshit. I'm your host, Nick Swartz. Thank you for tuning in once again to the big show, the number one tattoo podcast in the world. There's a lot of other ones now, but this is the one. Before we get into this week's episode, I want to always mention Alliance Tattoo Supply. Go to alliancetattoosupply.com and support those guys. They're doing good, man. They're doing a good thing for tattooing. They are the real deal. Been tattooing for a very long time. Do what's right. Look out for the right people. Look out for the right products. And I'm just proud to work with them, man. I tell you what, Fred, Josh, and everyone that I've met there are good people, man. They've been on, you can go back through the episodes, which I'm going to talk a little bit about that here soon, but they've been on, and man, they just, I really appreciate their support. They support No Lies Just Bullshit. They support Alley Cat Tattoo. They're going to support the Shenandoah Rose come August, and I can't say enough nice things about them. And when I say they do the right thing, they do as much as they can to keep corporate greed or the corporate hand or however you want to put it out of the tattoo supplies that they sell. It's impossible to keep it 100%, keep China out of it. It's just impossible. And they could speak better on that, and I'm not the guy, but I know that they do their best to keep it as small as possible, and that's an important thing because we want to spend our money with our people and keep it in the sort of, in the family of tattooers. Are people spending money with tattooers spending that money with tattooers who own supply companies doing the right thing and investing in themselves so that they can get the best product, and it just sort of becomes a sort of one hand scratches the other back or whatever, however that saying goes. I don't know how it works, but anyway, AllianceTattooSupply.com is the place to go. Follow them on here. I know Timothy's done killer merch for them, and Wrath has done killer merch for them, and there's a reason that they attract great tattooers. So be sure and support them. In other news, the Shenandoah Rose. When I said they're going to support the Shenandoah Rose, they are going to supply the tattooers who are going to be working the Shenandoah Rose, and that is an incredible gift, and it's an honor for them to acknowledge us in that way. And it's no surprise that they're going to acknowledge these tattooers, because if you're not aware of the roster, the top-notch tattooers that are going to be here, then let me tell you a little something, okay? Let me tell you a little something right now. And I've released the whole list on Instagram, but we got Mario Desa, Brian McNeil, Timothy Hoyer, Jeff Rasher, Mike Wilson, Chad Chesko, Nick Hall, Juan Puente, Angelo Miller, Kylie Green, Jesse Struthers, Yoni Silber, Johnny P., Mac Tyre, Kurt Bear, Wrath, Will Lolly, Mike Brummett, Christian Lane, Larry Davis, and Eric Desmond. And these are all certified killers. I know some of them have booked. Some of them may be booked. If you're interested in coming to Shenandoah Rose and getting tattooed, that's the list. Hit them up, and don't be late. Don't be late. These are the big dogs, and some of them come and tattoo here regularly, and some of them don't. Brian McNeil is coming from Italy. Jeff Rash is coming from California. Juan Puente coming from the Northwest. Jesse, he's the homie, and he's been here a handful of times, but he's a family man now. He's got a kid and a kid on the way. Kurt Bear, same thing. He runs a business. He comes from a long way away. He runs a business, and he's got children, and it's just, I'm honored to have each and every one of them. Some of them are more accessible than others to the East Coast, but I'm just urging you, if you want to get an ill tattoo, those guys will be here, and they'll be doing ill tattoos, and so I strongly recommend it. Other than that, I'm going to put some tents over at the parking lot in case we get any bad weather, but I know we're going to need shade. I'm going to have some tents, going to have some tables and chairs, going to have some food trucks, parking across the street, so we're fortunate enough here at Alley Cat Tattoo to have an overflow lot across the street, and then we'll be parking over there. However, it's going to be somewhat limited. I mean, we can pack some fucking cars in there, but some of y'all are going to have to park down the street or around the corner. It's just the way it goes. I'm going to do my best to get something figured out logistically as to how to communicate to everybody where there might be other places to park. But that is... that's how that looks. And like I said, if you're here early and you can just park and stay for the weekend or whatever, shuttle or Uber to your hotel. I also, for speaking of hotels, I recommend you book a room at the Madison Hotel, downtown Harrisonburg, man. They're good folks. And when we did the 20th anniversary, that's where most folks stayed. That's where a lot of tattooers that visit, that travel through, that's where they stay. And that's where most of these tattooers that are coming this time are going to be staying. So, yeah, that's what we recommend. Recommend the Madison. Also, I'll have flyers here at the event that will recommend local eateries, bars, antique shops, places to travel, so on and so forth. You know, it's gonna be a fun weekend, man. And if you're a tattooer or a tattoo collector, or a tattoo enthusiast, come on through, man. Come see us and let's just hang. Let's just party. Like, it's going to be a great, it's going to be a celebration, man. 25 years Valley Cat Tattoo, and we've been doing our thing. And so, very excited about that. Okay, so if you're aware, if you're a regular listener, this is episode 399. And, man, that's a lot of work. That's a whole lot of work. And if you're a regular listener, then you've noticed that, I've put together some like best ofs. So when I say I put together, I mean my brother Josh put together some like Hoyer's greatest hits or the best of Peter Tattoo or Inksmith and Rod, whatever we did. And it's to inform people of episodes of the past. Like if you've been listening for say 20 episodes, 50 episodes, we're embarking on 400. So I'm gonna take a little bit of time now to talk about how we got started and the trajectory and things that have happened along the way. So I credit most of this, or the startup of this, to my dear friend Robin, who is I met him years ago. He was a student at JMU. And he's a writer and a songwriter and an all-around good guy. And we became friends. You know, he used to ask, you know, when he was back in the day, he got a couple piercings, a couple tattoos. He's pretty heavily tattooed at this point, but he got a couple piercings and a couple tattoos at Alley Cat. And then one day, I come out at, you know, we're closing up at 10 or 11 or whatever time it was. And it was early day, so maybe 11. And Robin is in the parking lot with one of his buddies, and he's like, hey, man, his buddy Nate, who became, you know, one of my dearest friends to this day. And they're like, hey, man, is there any chance you buy me a case of PBR? And I think they were 19 or 20, and I was 22. And I said, any chance you'll buy me a case of 40s? And then he's like, well, we can't buy. And I'm like, I know, but you can fund them. And so that became like how we knew each other. And then me and Andrew Connor were living up here by where the shop is now. And we were throwing hardcore shows. And so then Robin and his people started coming to these hardcore shows and would just hang around afterwards and party a little bit. I'm like, oh, you're the guy from the shop. Anyway, that blossomed into one of my most incredible and endearing friendships of my life, man. Robin is as good as it gets. Robin and I have traveled together. We have had some of the most incredible meals and incredible music experiences of my life. We've gone to shows together. You know, I've taken him to deep dark hollers and around country folks, which is not the world he's used to, and he's taken me to high-end nice places and you know, introduced me to dignitaries and others that I'm not used to. And it's really been a symbiotic relationship where, you know, we both grow as people through this friendship, and I'm just really fortunate to have him. And like I said, he's a writer and a storyteller. And like I said, he knows my parents. You know, he stayed at my folks' home. Him and my old man were close. You know, I've never been a morning person. And so anytime my pop would come to our house, or me and Robin or the homies would go to my parents' house, he'd be up with the old man early in the morning, going to Hardee's or going to whatever the local diner was in Elkton. And yeah, man, he's just woven into the fabric of my adult life, and I'm grateful for it. And the reason I credit him so much with No Lies Just Bullshit is because he's always loved my storytelling and encouraged me to tell stories. And at one point, you know, he was the head writer over here at Rosetta Stone. If you're not familiar with Rosetta Stone, it's a language software company. And, you know, you want to learn Spanish or whatever, you pick up the Rosetta Stone stuff. and he wrote for them, and I think he developed German and Japanese software for them, and he was telling me, hey, Nick, we need to get all these stories of yours down. We need to get them in a book. We need to get them however. And he said, it's just important. He's like, you're a great storyteller, and these are great stories, and it's Appalachia, and it's all these things. And I just didn't know what he meant. But if he ever wanted to do something, I was game. I was like, yeah, I'll give you some stories, and we'll talk, or whatever, interview, whatever. Well, then Rosetta Stone downsized. He had to leave his position, and he ended up going to Harvard, and he's like, look, there's nothing I can do for you now. You have to do it yourself. But he's like, I think a good platform for you would be a podcast. And I had never listened to a podcast. I have heard of them at the time, but I had never listened to, the few that I listened to are like Theo, Matt and Shane, Secret Podcast. If Rogan has a fucking alien weirdo or a fucking comedian on there, I might listen to one of those. I haven't listened to that many podcasts to this day, but at that time I had listened to zero. And he said, maybe your brother can help you get it online or whatever. So I said to my brother, hey man, Robin says we should do a podcast. And he just looked at me. He's like, yeah, okay, you should, or whatever. And I kept bringing it up. And then next thing you know, 6 months had passed, or 8 months, and then a year or whatever. And I told him, I said, hey man, I really want to launch this thing. I want to get it off the ground. And he goes, well, what are you going to do? You're going to just record something? I said, yeah, I'm just going to record some stories. That's how I'm going to start. And so put it off for another month. And then I told him, he comes up here every Tuesday. He's a partner and in the business. And I said, next Tuesday, man, we're going to fucking record something. And so we finished up all the things we had to do. And we sat down in my office. And I just told a story of going to the Tampa convention and meeting up with Will Lally in like 1998 or something like that, 7 or 8. And maybe 1997. And, my brother was just sort of in the room, so at the time I didn't know how to do what I'm doing now, which is just talk off the dome and tell stories and stuff. I could tell stories, but I needed someone there. So I'm just telling stuff off the dome, and I think it's like 44 minutes or something. And so I felt pretty good about it, although probably if I listen to it now, I would hate it. There's a lot of ums in there, I'm sure. And then I did the same thing the following week. For 4 weeks, I just told a story to my brother. And then I took those 4 things, and my brother edited them somewhat. They was pretty crude at the time, and you gotta realize it's 2016, and so he put them where I could email them, and I emailed them to Brian Bruno, Timothy Hoyer, John Henry, and somebody else. I can't remember right now, but I sent them to 4 tattooers, and then I asked them for feedback, and they didn't give me a lot of feedback, but they didn't give me negative feedback either. They're like, oh no, those are cool, man, I can listen to those while I paint, is what most of them said. And then I sent them to 8 more tattooers, and then I sent them to 16 people, some outside the business, and just, like my buddy Jeff Gwynn and a handful of other people, just to see what they thought. And the overwhelming response was, that's pretty cool. Like I said, not a lot of encouragement, but also not a lot of criticism either. And so I was just like, man, this could work. So I told my brother, I was like, let's put these out. And I really didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and they probably weren't ready to be released. But he says to me, okay, well, if you're going to put them out, then you got to figure out a schedule that you're going to put them out on, and you got to figure out a name, and we got to buy that domain name, and we got to build a website. And all this shit has to be done before you can put them out. I was like, well, you get to work on that stuff, and I'll get to work on a name and trying to figure out some more ideas. I was talking to my wife, and I don't know if we had just recently watched. We were watching Blues Brothers, which is like the best movie ever made. And when Jake gets out of prison, he says to Elwood, he goes, so when's band practice? He goes, oh, the band broke up a long time ago. He's like, well, you've been lying to me this whole time? He says, no, it's not lies, it's just bullshit. Something to keep you going. I didn't want you to lose your spirit in there. And my wife looks at me and says, No Lies, Just Bullshit would be a great name for a podcast. And so that's how that came about. And, the first time you hear something, it doesn't sound like it makes any sense. But as time goes on, now it's like a staple, or NLJBS, all that stuff. And so I told my brother, he got the domain name. We released those 4. And I said, I'd like to release podcasts once a week. And then we took off down that road. I could go back, you could go back. I don't really know what order they were in, but Josh Brown did it. Keith Harper did it. Absolute Archives were doing it. those guys did it, and I don't remember who else, but just a couple randos. I shouldn't say that because I don't remember. It might have been my closest homies. I really don't remember who did the first 10. I really don't. But I put them out, and they were getting a little bit of traction. And I remember I did one, and it got 433 downloads overnight. And I was like, holy shit. No Lies, Just Bullshit is going to be the biggest podcast in the fucking world. You believe that? Look at my brother. I'm like 400 people plus downloaded this within 24 hours of it dropping. I can't believe, I blew my mind. I never imagined it getting any bigger. And then a little bit of time passed, and I recorded with Timothy Hoyer. And that one really catapulted it to another level. And now thousands of people are downloading it. And then by the end of the week, I think it got up to like 9,000 people. And I couldn't even wrap my mind around that. And then I put Brian Bruno out, and it doubled that amount in a week. And I really started to get some traction, and more people started listening to it, and it really became something special. And so, yeah, I was off, you know what I mean? I was off and running. And, like I said, I can't sit here in a retrospective and say, every moment that meant something to me, because they all mean something to me. And, what bums me out is like there's so many good. It doesn't bum me out. I shouldn't say it like that, but I'm sure I overlook great podcasts when I'm talking about podcasts. I mean, there's a bunch of killer ones, but the ones though, the people that I maintain relationships with have a tendency to sort of come to memory more often. But like there's a great episode with Kylie Green, and she's only ever done one, and we talk about country music most of the time, but people, like a lot of people listen to that episode, and they still go back and listen to that episode, and it means a lot to me. I don't know what year it was. I guess I had done, so at one point, there's this Everence thing going on, and I don't fact check. Somebody out there could Google it or whatever. I don't know what year it was, but Everence thing was going on, and it was like the big dogs in tattooing, or at least in our end of tattooing, we're all endorsing this product or this idea, and it was getting a ton of feedback from working class tattooers and people throughout. And they said it was misunderstood. I wasn't into the idea from jump. I didn't think it would be dope, to be honest with you. And so when it started to get all this backlash and get all this negative attention, as I understood it, at Kings Avenue, Will Lolly, Justin Weatherholtz, Mike Rubendahl. And Mike's talking about how he just needs to be able to talk about it. And I think Mike could probably have contacted Chris Grosso or people at Vice and just done something. But Weatherholtz said to him, and this is just as sort of I recall these guys telling me, Weatherholtz says, well, if you want to address the whole community, you should talk to Nick. And Will says, Nick's a friend of mine. I can make that happen. Or I can at least put you in touch. And so, however that went down, shortly after that, Brian Bruno tells me, hey, Mike Rubendahl's looking for you, that's what you want to hear, you know what I mean? And so then Rube reaches out to me, and we talk and agree. And so Will's like, hey, just come to New York, and I'm going to make it real easy for you. So I hop on a train, go to New York, get with Will, do a bunch of podcasts. And then, man, I guess that's after, I don't know, I'm getting my timeline screwed up a little bit. I guess that happened before. No, Everence happened first. Everence happened first, for sure. So I did the Everence thing, and I got raked over the fucking coals, man. I mean, motherfuckers hating on me, making memes about me, calling me Kenny Powers, which I think's amazing. The guy, what's his name? Who played Kenny Powers, he is from Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is not too far from here. It just fucking cracked me up. And they were like, you're spending fucking, tens of thousands of dollars on the rollout of this product. You spend fucking $12 on a fucking podcast with some hillbilly. And I just thought it was funny as shit. It didn't bother me. And there were just so many memes about all of us. Me, Tim Hendricks, Scott Sylvia, Mike Rubendahl, the product itself, people that were endorsing the product, everything. But it gave them an opportunity to have that platform. And so I said, in return, I just want you guys to do a podcast. And so Will says, come up. And I stay with Will, and I record with Rube. And AJ and Essing, I think, were in there a little bit. And I record with Weatherholtz, Zach Scheinbaum, and Chris Grosso on that trip. And it was an amazing trip. And it really, really changed No Lies, Just Bullshit. The trajectory had already was going in the right direction, and then the Everence thing, sort of good and bad publicity, but more and more people were aware of us, and then that trip and those guests really, really took it to another level. And it was incredible. It meant a lot to me, and it still means a lot to me, and I'm still friends with those folks. And shouts to Zach and Afterlife Press, and shouts to Rube and AJ, man, treating me like gold. Everyone up there, man, the whole Kings Avenue, they're all just good folks. They've been so good to me. Will Lally, of course, is my good friend, and Chris Grosso and I still talk from time to time, and he's done a ton of great stuff with Action Bronson and other, and many other things as well. So yeah, I mean, that really solidified us and made people sort of like, oh, that's just not just Nick getting drunk in his office with his buddies fucking dip, but they're actually talking about stuff. And so, and all these people I mentioned are doing me a favor and flattering me by even considering coming on the show and talking to me about it. It means so much. And by the way, they're good storytellers, and they have great things to offer. And they have, with a little nudge, next thing you know, you got Mike Rubendahl talking about going to an abandoned building in London to get tattooed by Philip Blue, and there's fucking pigeons everywhere, and they're fucking running hundreds and hundreds of yards of extension cords to get power up to the floor that they're squatting on. They're mind-blowing. Incredible stories, man. And so, yeah, that's... And then I can't, and this is all just from memory. This is why I'm jumping around a little bit. But that turned into now I've got these people who are not just tattooers that I know and admire anymore, but now I'm more friendly with them. We're talking more often. I'm talking to Justin Weatherholtz, and he's like, hey, you need to be at Pagoda. It's important. You need to come up here. You need to record these stories. Andrew Connor is an important guy. He needs to be tattooing here. Why the fuck is he not tattooing here? I'm going to give you a booth, blah, blah, blah. So we work all that out. And, excuse me, I get a little parched. I got some Pellegrino here. Anyway, it's a fine product of Italy. And so, talking to him, and he's like, the first year, you know what, man, I don't even know. But I said to him, he says, is there anybody you'd like to get in contact with that maybe you don't know, but you'd like to know and you'd like to record with? And I said, I'd like to talk to Jill Bonney. I never have enough women on the show. You can't have enough women on the show. And she's been really impactful. And so he said, I'm going to text her right now, and I will link you guys up. And so within a day, I got a text message from her asking me exactly what it is that I do, and I explained it. And she said she'd be flattered. And now this is like a strong friendship in my life, and she means a lot to me. And, we don't talk every day, but when we talk, it's for an hour, and it's about our kids and our lives and our shops and our trajectory. And man, it's just, it means a lot to me. And her story, I think she thought I was just going to inquire about her tattoo career, but I wanted to inquire about her whole life. And talking with her, that the first time was, so we hung out the night before with some other friends, and the next night we recorded.
My first trip to Japan, I went to work at Three Tides, and part of the adventure was I was going to go get tattooed by Horiyoshi, And so because Taki was his apprentice at that time, a lot of his teachings were already being filtered down to me. Taki was very open and generous, and with, sort of the things that he was learning and understanding, and just
Sorry to cut you, but we're talking just tattooing, but isn't there a lot of etiquette that comes along with it?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was sent to meet him for the first, to go get tattooed, it was I literally had the business card in my wallet with the English translation of the right things I was supposed to say. It was I think that obviously, you're Southern and you have perfect manners. If you met him and you just treated him like he was something that you really wanted to care for and respect, that's what etiquette is. It's honoring someone, but showing with your actions. Especially when you don't speak Japanese, those things are really important to just show. And so I was obviously extremely nervous and intimidated, but also thrilled, and so I went to go get tattooed by him, and we were, I'm trying to remember, I almost can't remember, it was the old, it must have been in the old studio, and and he's asking me like, what do you want? And Taki had actually had this like beautiful, super loose calligraphy on his front from him, and so I was like, I really would love something like that, because I knew as a collector you can only get like a 40-minute tattoo, and so it was like, do I want to just get like a mask or a head, or do I want to do something that's going to have some kind of like impact on the like look of my like full like body or whatever.
Sure.
So I got I had kind of told him like, I want some kind of like writing, maybe like a prayer or some poetry, and because I knew that he studied poetry, and I didn't really know what I was asking for. And he's like, well, what do you want it to say? And I was kind of like, oh, I didn't think of that.
Some birdie.
I just thought you would like know, but also like the way that I've always gotten tattooed is like, I love your snakes. Let me get a snake from you.
Yeah.
I already love what you do. It's like, because it's going to be, whatever, you know what I mean? So, so I'm asking him, and he like opens a book and he shows me like a couple different like passages of poetry, and, a short like phrase poetry. So like one line is like a whole thing.
How's he telling you what it means? How's he telling you what it says? Just broken English, or?
Yeah, he doesn't speak English very well. So he kind of points at a couple just to look at aesthetically, like maybe this or this.
Sure.
And I was like, maybe that one. He's like, I like that one. And this is like the most incredible moment of foreshadowing so he says, this is what this means. He goes, this means that relationships change the way clouds in the sky will change.
And you just, right.
So he then, I get tattooed, and I've had this luck, and I attribute this to being a woman, that I feel like there are these artists that are notorious for being like insanely painful, that I find like not be that painful. And I'm like, Burt cracked in my palm, and it wasn't that bad, like Ed Hardy, like
When I first noticed your palms, I was like, it's a bad motherfucker.
You should see his wife's palms. It's crazy.
Brian Bernard did a moth split between them. It's crazy nuts.
that's awesome.
He's a bad motherfucker too.
I hope I get to meet her, honestly.
I do too. You'd love it. She would love you. We'll make that happen. Well, maybe we'll,
Yeah, you guys come out.
Yeah,
Come out,
okay.
bring the kid. I mean, really, barbecue in the yard. Like, we'll do the whole thing.
Sure.
But yeah. I don't really know what to expect. Yeah, he did. He used a brush pen.
Yeah.
Drew it on. It's super, super loose. It's super beautiful. It's a particular style of calligraphy, and actually for my 30th birthday I spent with him, he actually gave me this beautiful like framed antiques, like a piece of like beautifully painted poetry. It was like done by this woman. It's like a similar style, and after that, he invited me to like stay for dinner and everything, and so we like go and pick up his like wife and his family, kid, and it was just like, literally, it was like all the tattoo dreams come true. It was like all the gifts of the universe are like.
That's what you've been working for so long for.
Because like I said, like from that moment, like back with Kaz, it was just like Horiyoshi is the one. Like he is the keeper of the secrets. Like he knows the language, but he's also like the greatest innovator. He's like both knows all the old ways, but he's also like the most creative in pushing the new ways. He's a force of nature, and.
But I realized that, she didn't really know what I expected of her, and it taught me how to sort of go behind the tattoo aspect and work into it, because I'm always fascinated by people's upbringing, where they lived, and the family and the people around them's reaction to their taking a path in tattooing, or even just getting heavily tattooed. Like I've done all these podcasts with Mary Jane, and she hasn't been on in a while, but she's this incredible friend of mine from Alabama, and she started getting her bodysuit, and she almost has a suit now. She's almost done. She started getting tattooed at 71, I think. I'm fascinated by that, and I'm fascinated about how the people around her reacted to that. And so with Jill, she had done the Pain-Proof Rubber Girls, and she'd been on Letterman, and she'd done Coney Island and sideshow stuff and all this amazing stuff. And then she had grown into this incredible Japanese tattoo. You know, she's an icon, man. She's a fucking icon. And so Weatherholt's linked me up with her. I think that trip to Pagoda, I recorded with Jill, I recorded with Yoni Silber, and I recorded with Tim Hendricks. And maintain friendships with all those guys. They mean the world to me. And they're all incredible, impactful stories. And I urge you all, if you haven't heard them, to go listen to them. I mean, they're all just fucking tremendous. And on and on and on. I can't sit here and recount every episode to you, but I want to continue to sort of share some of it from my point of view. And like I said, it's a bummer because there are some incredible episodes. Like, I've had some incredible musicians on, and their podcast meant a lot to me. But, like, if you listen to the first ever Jimmy P episode, Jimmy since then has been on with, like, 3 other times with other people. But his first episode, just me and him, is, like, some of the best tattoo talk and, like, you know, account of 80s and 90s tattooing that I've ever had on the show.
The first hangout tattoo
We're
shop.
just getting into this, and I'm hyped.
Yeah, dude, the first tattoo shop that I was a hangout in, I was drawing designs. We were getting tattooed at this shop, biker shop, run by biker, full biker shop, and I didn't know shit. But the guys were being friendly to me. They saw that I had art talent. I was drawing stencils. I was in. I mean, I was in.
Sure.
Like, I felt like I could go back behind the secret wall, all that shit.
Yeah.
I was in. Now, never had once talked about trying to be a tattooer. Never had asked anyone to show me anything. I just enjoyed the fact
I was
that
probably stoked to be in the room.
I was stoked to be in that room. I was stoked that the guy that I was watching tattoo knew I could draw X, Y, and Z better than him.
Yeah.
So he was having me draw his stencils. Well, I'm drawing his stencils. Well, one day I decide to grab a catalog off the wall, and I pull it off the wall, and I'm flipping through it. And I had flipped through books in this shop many times before, but there's one particular time where I closed the book, and, you know, it was probably like a Dermographics catalog or something, and I closed the book, and on the back of the book is the name of the company, you know, whatever the supply company is, and black Sharpied out is the address and the phone number. And I was like, and I'm not going to say his name, I was like, hey man, why is this blacked out? Why is the name of whoever put this catalog out blacked out? And I shit you not, this dude grabbed me by my throat, pinned me up against the wall, and he's like, if you ever ask another question about where any of this shit comes from, you will not be welcome in here ever again. That's all I needed to hear.
Sure.
Now, it took me a year after that to understand why, because,
Right.
you know, you're defenders of the faith, man. You're keeping those secrets.
You got to hold it tight because...
I was terrified, man. I was a little kid, and I had a big biker pinning me up against a bookshelf wall
I mean,
by
that's
my
a scary
throat.
thing now.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? But, yeah. I
They
mean,
don't exist now.
Oh, yeah.
It's a scary thing now, but they, you know, it's not
You know
the
what,
same.
though, man? It does exist.
You think they're out there?
In Kentucky?
Oh, true,
And
true.
in Western Tennessee? And,
True, yeah.
and West Virginia?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, you're right. You're right.
But portions of Alabama and shit like that, it does. It's still there.
I feel like so much of the country, you know...
Those people aren't suited and shit.
Right.
They're not doing it like we're doing it.
Well, that's where I was getting at, is most of the country doesn't really want that element. The soccer mom that wants to get whatever Pinterest tat she wants to get. And even
She
like the,
never wants to go.
the hipster traditional kids, they don't want to get tattooed by that guy because they're scared of him.
They're
you know?
scared of
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
scared of the environment, man.
Yeah.
They're scared of the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Well, like when every tattooer that we respect talks about the first time they went in Spotlight.
No, yeah.
That's come on. That's
Yeah.
that's exactly how I felt going into a tattoo shop first too. You know, it was insane.
And that episode means a lot to me. But anyway, there's still episodes I want to get, but back to sort of the trajectory. So that weekend, as I'm hanging out with Jill and Yoni and meeting all these new people, and I had met Todd Noble years and years prior, but now, you know, there's just a ton of new faces, and I meet Frank Ramano, and I'm talking. I'm like, go back to my room, and I got Mike Rubendahl there. It's just me and Mike, and I'm like, hey, Mike, I need to get Frank on No Lies Just Bullshit. And he was like, no, that's not going to happen. And I'm like, why not? Why is that not going to happen? He says, well, Nick, you know, you got to know how to talk to Frank. So you have such a lighthearted attitude, and you want to drink, and you want to smoke weed. And it's like, that's not Frank, man. You're not going to jive with Frank. He's not going to be into that. And I was like, okay, well, I don't have to do that. I can do it more like an interview. But I'll tell you what, since you know so fucking much, why don't you interview Frank on my show? And I'll just be there to keep the wheel rolling. And he was like, okay. Let me think about that. And here's Mike Rubendahl with his arms folded, pacing back and forth in my hotel room. And he's like talking, thinking out loud. He's like, I interview Frank on your show. Okay, that could work. That could be interesting. It could be fun. I have to talk to him, you know. And so that turns into I'm taking another trip to New York. And we hang out at King's Ave for the day. And then AJ scoops me up, takes me over to Frank's shop, drops me off. It's me, Frank, Mike Rubendahl, Will Lolly's in the room, and then halfway in, Andrew Connor comes in the room. You know, it's some stuff that me and Mike discussed prior. Mike has notes, Rubendahl has notes. Mike has notes, Frank has notes. They converge. I'm not going to give you all the behind-the-scenes stuff, but it was really cool, man. It was really cool to watch those dudes operate together, or however you want to put it. They're both good guys. They both love tattoos. They both take it seriously. They don't want to say anything or tell any stories to sort of hurt tattooing or hurt their place in tattooing. But we all know that they've got some fucking great shit that we want to know. So it's like the, you know, the balance of like, well, how much can I tell it? And watching them figure that out together.
You know, I probably made 50% of my living covering up tattoos that were done at the Chatham Fair, which was a fairgrounds up there, and that people would walk in and they go, I got this tattoo, and I'd finish the sentence, at the Chatham Fair.
So this was a shop that your pop owned?
Yeah, upstate, near his house. He bought a, as JD Crow said, he bought a mountain.
Yeah, he bought a fucking mountain. That's what crazy.
He bought a chunk of a mountain in Massachusetts, and this was like, he ultimately got bored of his semi-retirement, you know, and my father was a mover, you know, he liked to do things.
I think it's important to touch on, and you are a bit, how he kind of set you free and had you figure it out on your own and learn how to fail. You know, he didn't say, I'm going to help you along the way learn this trade where I have all this access to. He said, no, you're on your own, and you're going to need to do it on your own. So I think that's an important point, because a lot of people could say, well, you know, he gave you a leg up.
No.
A lot of people might assume that.
He had his foot on my back.
That, right.
Assume that, yeah. So
if anything, he had his foot on my back.
Yeah, no one said that, exactly.
Yeah. He kicked me out of the house. I began tattooing in spite of him, essentially.
Yeah.
Diane called him and said, listen, this is what I'm planning on doing. And I guess he didn't object strongly to it. I had done a tattoo in my mother's kitchen at 16, which was Richard West, the picture that you took of my friend's leg. You know, like a year before I moved out, I was always very good in art. Always. That carried me through high school. I took as much art as I could to get enough credits, and then just took the minimum academics because I hated school. And my father came home with a box of stuff, and he was like, crash course. He said, okay, this is the liner. You put about this much needle out. You tighten it here. This is the shader. You put about this much needle. And then, you know, you just fucking go along. And that was it.
It was really, really fun, man. And you know, if you're not aware of Frank Ramano, you're not following Da Vinci Tattoo or Super Fast Frank on Instagram, you really should. And Da Vinci lately have been sharing these videos of Frank talking about his coming up in the business. And, you know, he did that on NLJBS bullshit, but he's being, you know, I hate to speak for Frank, but I feel like he's being a little more vulnerable and letting you into the more personal side of who he is and how he got to where he is in this business. And it's really cool. And so if you haven't, go to Da Vinci Tattoo, follow them, and watch all these videos of Frank talking. They started off with doing sort of like the trending thing of like, what makes this kind of tattoo or that kind of tattoo? And it evolved into like just asking Frank questions about his trajectory. And man, it's super cool. Frank's a great guy. He's been here at the shop. I've been to his shop. He's a great fucking storyteller, and he's just all around. He's a positive guy in my life, and I appreciate him. I'm grateful for that. And Rube helped me accomplish that friendship by being open-minded, Because at first he's just like, nah, you're not going to fucking do that. But when I came with an idea, then he responded with, okay, that's a possibility that we can get it done. And we got it done. Also that week, the Yoni episode. I think he's been on 2 or 3 times. All iconic. But the first one, where he tells his whole life, his trajectory, his love of tattooing, his desire to become a tattooer, and how he got it, how he became a tattooer, is like a story that takes you from Israel to Europe and back, and just street stuff, and man, incredible. And he and I have now linked up with spots all over the country. He goes out of his way. He's shown me around New York City, a different side of New York City that you can't just like walk into. It's just been incredible, man. And this podcast has given me so much from these people that I've named, and the opportunities that have come from sitting down and talking with them. And Yoni, man, if this motherfucker has done it all. He travels so much. He knows so many people, but he's not a prick about it. He's not at all. He'll just very matter-of-factly tell you that he owns the first and second Mike Wilson builds, like tattoo machine builds. He has number 1 and he has number 2. It's mind-blowing. Stories of him getting tattoos, stories of him doing tattoos.
So when I'm 14, I got my first tattoo. Then I remember I walked on the beach one day, and because I looked so young, this guy, Sailor David Moskowitz, he's like the only Israeli sailor that I know about that was actually traveling the world, Hawaii and all those places, and he used to collect tattoos. He had Sailor Jerry tattoos on him, he had Pinky on, all those like really amazing tattoos. And he saw me and he's like, "Hey kid, come here. Why do you have a tattoo?" And he freaked out that I look so young and I have a tattoo on me. So he wondered who the asshole that did it to me, Yeah. He's like, "Who tattooed you in that age? How old are you?" So I told him, I'm 14, I'm fine, blah, blah. He's like, "Oh, you want to see what his real tattoos is?" And he started showing me his tattoos, and I was blown away, because you didn't see visible tattoos, but when he lifted up his shirt and showed me his legs, he was like covered, beautiful tattoos. And every tattoo had a date and where he got it, Hawaii, China, all these places. Sure. And that was like, then he told me, I'm traveling the world and I collect from everywhere I go, I collect a tattoo. And that's when I know, okay, that's how I want to do it. Yeah. I want to get covered up, but travel the world by doing it, And he told me I used to do tattoos back in the 70s and blah, blah, but now he's just like an artifact collector or something like this. So then I started like thinking about it. Wow, this guy used to do tattoos. He traveled the world and all this stuff. So I kind of started now I start drawing from tattoo magazine. I start collecting every person that went to America. I asked him, just bring me a tattoo magazine when you're back. That's what I want, because we didn't have tattoo magazine. We didn't have anything. So every tattoo magazine come back, I used to just copy the designs and just trying to draw it. Yeah. Then I started when I was 16. I got my second tattoo by this guy named Avi. Now Avi is he was like the artist tattooer. He's the one that he started tattooing I think in '89, and he's the one that kind of was bringing professional tattooing into Israel. He wasn't like biker or whatever. He was like artist guy that doing tattoos. And I loved his work. I just like I would get covered by him, so I started getting a bigger work from him. I used to get I got a half sleeve from him, and then the second tattoo I kind of got the nerves, and I said, "Hey, will you tattoo me? Will you teach me to tattoo?" Mm-hmm. And he's like, "No way, I'm teaching my brother at the moment, and I'm teaching only my family, I'm not teaching any strangers or anything," and blah, blah. So then I had a lot of money collecting as a kid from riding horses and doing all this work. So I saved, all my life I saved money, I bought my own motorcycle when I was a kid with my own money. So I came to him, I think it was equivalent for like $10,000 or $20,000 equivalent for 16 years old, 17 years old. And I came to him and I said, "Hey, take this money and teach me to tattoo, take all of it." I came with cash, piles. And I put on his table, "Just take it and teach me to tattoo." He's like, "No, I'm not teaching for money, I'm not teaching anybody." Wow. And I was like, wow. So when I was 17, then I had to join the army. You usually join the army when you're 18 in Israel. But my parents were sending letters for 2 years now for the army to take me, because I was so wild that they just thought, okay, the army will fix him,
Sure. Teach him discipline.
Yes. So eventually they took me when I was 17. But before I went to the army, I knew I wanted to be a tattoo artist, and now I know, okay, now is a 3 years break of my plan. You know, I won't be able to pursue it until I'm out of the army, you know? So it's like, so since I got into the army, the only thing I saw is me getting out of the army.
Just an incredible guy, man. If you don't know Yoni, if you ever see him at a convention, you introduce yourself, tell him Nick said give him a hug. He's a good fucking guy. But yeah, so then that weekend sort of pushed me to the next level. And there's been these pushes throughout my career. I say my career, I just mean my time, you know, because my career is being in the tattoo business for, you know, almost 30 years now. Almost 30 years. And so I'm grateful for it, man. I'm so... But it started off selling body jewelry and then piercing and then managing shops and then eventually owning a shop. And I've run it for this long and I've done the podcast for 10 years. And like I said, becoming friends with all these folks have meant a lot to me. They all have maintained good friendships with me. And I'm excited about Shenandoah Rose. A lot of these people are going to be there. But yeah, so a couple of other things that I just want to mention that's sort of been impactful for me. Of course, RIchie Montgomery. Like you talk about Frank Ramano. There's the Peter Tattoo lineage, and there's a certain group of guys, you know. I've had Eric Fisher on 2 or 3 times. Incredible storyteller, great guy, really nice guy. Tattooed for a long time. I've had Angelo Miller on a handful of times. I've had Eric Desmond on. But RIchie Montgomery's episode is, and I don't think it's a coincidence that him and Frank, you know, and by the way, up until I put out RIchie's, every tattooer that was serious, that loved tattooing, would say that Frank's episode was their favorite episode. And I don't know if it's just because I wasn't on it as much and you had Rubendahl and Frank talking, or if it was just hopefully it was just the incredible stories that Frank was telling. But whatever it was, that was a really impactful episode. And by the way, any episode that I reference, you can go to Google and put in No Lies, Just Bullshit Frank Ramano, and it'll take you straight to that episode because it's so many, you can't just scroll through Spotify. I mean, you could, but it's a pain in the ass. And so, anyway, RIchie Montgomery is a guy who I wanted to get with him several times. It didn't work out. And then I had this opportunity to go to Germany. And I wanted to go visit my uncle, and my brother and I had been to Germany together in the 90s, and I wanted to go back with my brother. And so I had this opportunity to go to the Aachen convention. Shouts to Andreas. He's going to link me up with Hanky Panky, and I'm going to do a live podcast in front of an audience. And that's a fucking 10-hour flight, and I hadn't done it in a long time, and I don't like to fly. So I said, I need to get my mind right. I need to do a shorter flight first just to wrap my brain around it. And so I grabbed my boy Jake Hockman from Alley Cat Tattoo, and we are going to fly to New York for 2 days. Go up, record RIchie Montgomery, spend the next day with Mike Brummett, hitting all these tattoo shops and restaurants, and then the next day fly back. And when we touched down at LaGuardia, RIchie and his wife Mary were in the parking lot of a hotel, which is like right across the way. It's about a mile away. Waiting for us. Mary brought cookies. We went inside, went upstairs, and then I was just like, you don't want to keep him waiting, but I just got off a plane. And I'm just trying to get my bearings and just like try to figure out how to get a couple beers in the room, but it didn't work out anyway. We're drinking water. I think I had a bottle of whiskey and maybe a Coke. But RIchie Montgomery comes in, and again, I'm interested in entire life stories. So RIchie is telling me about the tattoos that he's wearing that are from Peter Poulos of Peter Tattoo, that are the same tattoos he's wearing. He's doing them on RIchie's hands, the same stuff he has on his hands. But RIchie, prior to that, he finds a business card in a phone booth, hits this guy up, starts getting tattooed. The first tattoo I think was a hot stuff, and then he went back and got flames added around it. But I mean, this dude's 17 years old in New York City. And he's getting fucking his arms filled up, his hands done. He's getting fucking tattooed as a young person, as a kid, basically. He tells this most mesmerizing story about how he's going to leave when it's time to leave Pete and do his own thing. And everything he said, man, I was just on the edge of my seat the whole conversation. It was just, he was so generous with his time and so generous with information. And he and I became good friends. And he and I, to this day, we talk, we get along. It's always nice to see him.
And I gotta admit, I wound up learning to not tell people stuff. Because you didn't want the guy to get better than you and open up down the block. Mm-hmm. There wasn't that much. You gotta remember, tattooing back then, supposedly when I started tattooing, there was, I think, through the whole United States, there was like 500 tattooers.
Right.
There was 500 people doing this crap, you know? I mean, my number, from Spalding and Rogers is 199. Okay.
So,
you know, so
that brings me to another point. Sitting still and tattoo, because again, you said to me, Nick, I could have tried, but I didn't. Being that you were doing stuff that was a little more exciting, you weren't just doing stuff off the wall, you were drawing stuff, you were bringing in sources and stuff. Do you realize the influence that you had on Long Island tattooing, on New York tattooing, on East Coast tattooing? Like, you know, your stuff, you know, if Pete might be doing great stuff, but he might be in New York, or he might be in Colorado, or he might be at the opening of the next shop, you're sitting still. You know, when your tattoos are walking into other shops, those people are doing the same thing you're doing when you see a tremendous tattoo, and they're maybe photographing it, they're maybe emulating it. You know, the impact that you made by sitting still for 50 years is tremendous.
Thank you, you know, but I just wanted to be, you know, I wanted a home base. You know, I didn't want, you know, like I got now. I did not want that craftsman fucking cart, you know. I mean, that seemed to be, you know, like the sign of the gypsy tattooer. You know? I mean, I wanted a sink. I wanted a fucking sink.
You wanted comforts. You wanted conveniences.
I wanted to be able to rinse my shit here, you know, and I didn't want to have to get up and go to the bathroom.
How far do you live from where you tattooed?
Right now? Well,
then, when you were for the long stretch.
Yeah, even then, it was about 12 miles.
Okay.
You know?
Which, 12 miles in Virginia is 15 minutes. 12 miles where you all live is fucking 45 minutes, right?
It's about a half hour, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
It's quicker by bicycle. I am not lying to you. I would take my bicycle. I would give it a call and say, yeah, I'll meet you at the diner.
But did you see, like, work coming in? You know, where'd you get that? I got it from blah, blah, blah. Did you see your influence? And I know you're a humble guy. I know you're not trying to say but I'm trying to say on your behalf that your influence is tremendous.
Well, thanks. Like, again, I say thanks. I mean, I do know the people, RIchie 5, Rob Frund, and those guys said that, you know, they saw my stuff and it was like, oh, you know, where the fuck did he have? What flash? He didn't have flash. He drew it.
It was just different.
Like he just drew
different, and they felt.
Yeah, you know, and
wow.
And also a little, you know, a little kick in the ego when you can take, you know, the big pen out and, you know, just draw a big fucking dragon on somebody, you know, and. You know, and somebody says, oh, you just drew it on in 5 minutes. Oh, fucking you know, and then the other tattoo, I was like, what the fuck? You know? Like,
and did you draw a lot of stuff on? Like,
yeah.
So how did you learn? So there's a difference between your dad gives you a piece of reference and you see a dragon. There's a difference in, like, I can draw a dragon and I can draw a dragon to fit this thigh or this knee or the, like, you know, how did you learn composition?
Just looking at it, doing it, you know.
Just shaping it as you went?
Yeah, just, you know, looking at a lot of, you know, the stuff I could get from the good tattooers, you know, and, or Pete would tell me, you know, you should have did this. You
right.
know, you shouldn't have put the head going out. You should have turned it this way, you know. And, you know, you're like, oh, yeah, you know all right, next time.
But from an artistic point of view, composition is almost to everything, right? I mean, fitting the person that you're putting it on.
I don't know. It just came, you know, I gotta just be honest. I would just look at it and say, you know, I think this is the way the feathers should go to this part of the body. Or,
right.
You know, the head should go here or there. You know, I just tried it. If I didn't like it, I would erase it and, you know, start over again. You know, I just looked at it. I saw it somehow, you know, what it should look like, you know, and tried to do it my best that way, you know. And I did spend, you know, while a lot of guys were up at the bar hanging out, you know, I mean, I'd be home
putting in the time,
and I'd be drawing and drawing and drawing. No, we weren't even a thing, you know.
Jesus,
well, even now, but like back to time. I remember Pete saying to me, like, what the fuck bug bit you? Because I'd be sending him stuff, like I said, I wanted him to critique it, tell me what, and I remember him saying, what the fuck, what happened to you? How did you get so good? I'm not trying to blow smoke up my ass, but I remember him saying that, and I was like, oh, well, I'm just sitting at my fucking drawing desk here, for the last
That was just
year.
your passion. That's what I was wondering earlier.
just
Like if you had any formal training, or if that was just your thing.
I would come home. I had a big drawing desk, and I had a big apartment at the time, and I had my just Sony Trinitron TV, and I had my drawing desk, and I had my dogs, and I would just sit there.
But that's a lot of the era you come from, a lot of people, they tattooed 10 hours a day, or maybe even more. But when they were done, they were done. And when they were tattooing, they were just taking this thing off the wall and they were putting it on this guy. So you had the inclination to make it more interesting and work harder.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to get you to say you're the best.
I'm far from it. but
I'm not trying to give you a loaded question. What I'm trying to say is, of the era and time frame you come from, not everybody was tattooing all day and then going home and drawing. That's the point.
Yeah,
Saying I had a drawing setup, and that's different than what you think of the average tattooer from the era.
Yeah, no, I was just, I was inspired. I wanted to do the best that I could at what I was doing at the time. I wanted to always learn.
And I think the world of him, man. And there's been so many great people. I've had incredible episodes with a lot of Absolute Art guys, a lot of the Legacy Irons guys, the old Heavy Hands guys, the Serpent and the Rainbow guys, a bunch of Inksmith and Rogers guys. I mean, we're talking about the titans of tattooing. We're talking about the big, like the ones, man. At Juan Puente. I mean, just incredible, I've had some wild episodes with Shane Edholm, and just a lot of Scott Sterling. Man, Brian Bruno's been on 5 or 6 times. It just means so much to me, and it has for so long. Corey Miller, if you never listened to the Corey Miller episode, is West Coast. Don't sleep on that episode. It's fucking amazing. He's hilarious. He impersonates all the big tattoo figures from Los Angeles. He does a Bob Roberts impersonation. He does a fucking Jack Rudy impersonation. He impersonates Big George. Everybody, man. It's really cool, and he's fun, and he's funny. He doesn't take himself too seriously. I heard he just roasted Oliver Peck, and that it was amazing.
Jack's looking at my shit. He sees this Freddy Krueger I did. And I did it in my living room, all single needle. I didn't know, dude. This is me. I never apprenticed with nobody.
Right.
Seeing Mark's work.
Yeah.
Seeing Bob Roberts, but it was nothing like that. Those were like real tattoos. Even Mark still reminded me of the prison shit, because Mark was Fine Line Black and Gray, and Franco was all saying, "Oh, that shit's bullshit. It's gonna fall out as prison work." I'm like, it ain't prison work, Franco. These guys ain't in jail. This is like legit dude. Mark Mahoney, he's badass. Shit sucks. I'm like, why? There's something wrong here, because anybody would know this fucking shit. Mark's shit was fucking brilliant.
Sure.
I hadn't seen Jack's shit yet.
Right.
But Mark's shit was badass.
What was Jack's attitude? Was he cool or was he a dick? I hear everything. I hung out with him this weekend.
I'll tell you right now. Oh, I love Jack. We're friends, Yeah. Over the years, I've been friends with him for fucking years. Like I said, since that night in 1989, it probably was.
Yeah.
Or 88, something like that. I go down there. He's looking at my book. He's like, fuck, that's pretty fucking good, Holmes.
The Freddy Krueger?
The Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
He says, wow, that's fucking nice tattoo, man. So, what'd you do that with? He's what the fuck is that machine you're using right there? That was at home. I hadn't gotten that Mike Brown machine yet.
Yeah.
I had a little Spalding and Rogers machine. So Jack just unloads on me. You can't fucking tattoo with that fucking bullshit, man. What the fuck is that? Man, take that fucking thing fishing. Throw it in the fucking ocean. That piece of fucking Spalding and Rogers. I'm like, fuck, dude just compliments this tattoo. Now he's just tearing my fucking machines up saying they're shit.
Yeah.
I go, well, fuck, I got a Mike Brown. He's like, yeah, well, that's a good fucking machine. Where the fuck did you get that? And I'm like, oh, I got it from, Fat George. And he didn't care about that. He just wanted to fuck with me about that machine. And I'm realizing, he's like, yeah, you can't tattoo in here with that. I go, what do you mean tattoo in here with that? He's like, and fuck, man, what the fuck? How long you been tattooing? He's like, oh, that's a good tattoo. You can't tattoo with those fucking machines. And you know what else, Holmes? You need to grow some fucking facial hair, man. I don't want no clean-shaven motherfuckers in my shop. This is what he's telling me.
Just social
not
media.
talking about tattoos, not talking about fine line shit.
You need a mustache.
Tell me my fucking machines suck and I need to grow some facial hair. I go, dude, I can't. And he's like, yeah, you can. You need a little fucking ibbity bib. Yeah, I see a little scratch under your fucking... This is what this fucker's telling me, dude. And it's Jack Rudy. I mean, I had already heard and seen... He's like... Dude, Jack's a fucking genius.
Yeah.
The shit he did... And Freddie Gretty, a whole nother level, you know, what he does. But that was my camp. Anyways, that motherfucker... He says, you work for Fat George. He says, why don't you quit that fat bastard and come work for a real team? Yeah. And I'm like, fuck, he probably knows George. Am I supposed to stick up for George right now? Because I already know how shit is. Like, well, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at him thinking, George is a dick. And, you know, I ain't going to say shit. I go, what do you mean? Are you offering me a job? He's like, fuck yeah. You want to work here? Hey, fuck that guy. And that's how it was. And George told me, too. He's that motherfucker. It's all the good guys go over there. And I went and I told George, and I gave him a notice. And I couldn't believe it, dude. Jack offered me a fucking job.
Anyway, I say all that to say this is episode 399. The next one is 400. I'm really excited. I've already recorded it. It's good. It's great. It's someone who's been on before, but we've never told their story. And so I'm excited to tell this person's story because he's been on with other people, and it was never just nailed. It was never the right setting. There was always just other stuff going on and other people in the room. And so this was me and him, and we had a great talk. And man, I'm really excited to put that out for episode 400. The reason I'm doing this for episode 399 is because I want to talk to you guys about the difficulties of maintaining this podcast for this long. That doesn't mean that I've gotten everybody, because I definitely haven't. There's no shortage of amazing stories out there that need to be told, and I want to hear them. But I've got a shop with 10 employees. I've got a wife and children. I've got other interests that I have. And I've got, we've all got our own shit. I've got my own shit like everybody else does. Just shit that I deal with or shit that I go through or things I want to do and blah, blah, blah. It's not always easy for me to get. And sometimes, the last 3 fucking times I traveled, I had people drop out of doing podcasts with me. And no hard feelings with those people. But if I had done those podcasts, then this would just be another podcast. But instead, I wanted to talk about I always enjoy recounting the story of No Lies, Just Bullshit because I'm proud of it. It makes me feel good. It makes me proud. But part of the reason I'm doing it is to tell you guys that, I've had trouble as of like the last 6 months getting people on. And partially because I haven't been traveling that much. It's partially because the number of guest artists that's come through Alley Cat Tattoo has curved a little bit. And it just becomes more and more difficult. So while I don't want to change up the sort of the schedule, I'm telling you it may change. It may not. It may not. But I don't know what to do. And because of how many episodes I've done and because of how many people have sort of flaked on me, and again, it's nothing against anybody, man, because we all have lives, and I'm not always able to do all the things that I want to do. But because of those things, it makes it very, very difficult to push to get an episode. And I get a little high strung and I get a little stressed out. And I don't feel like having to scramble to get an episode. And I hope that doesn't sound selfish. I hope that doesn't sound like I don't care, because I do care and I love what I do. And man, like I said, there's a lot of fucking stories to be told. And I'm the guy. I want to sit down and I want to hear those fucking stories. Big time. I mean, I fucking love it. But it's just not always that simple. So at any rate, I want to keep going. And also, man, for you folks that listen on a regular basis, you guys mean the world to me. I have a lot of people that are tuning in every fucking week. Friends of mine, people I've never met, and everything in between. And occasionally, more often than not, really, I get somebody, whenever I'm feeling like, man, I don't know if I can maintain this, I'll get a fucking amazing Instagram message from somebody that says, yo, I listen to your stuff religiously. Don't ever stop what you're doing. Keep doing it. Keep getting it, keep going after it. These stories are amazing. They're important for history, you know. And I've had some of my favorite people, icons, people, I mean, big dogs that I look up to that tell me how important what No Lies Just Bullshit has done for tattooing. And, man, I don't take that lightly at all. I take that very, very seriously. I take it to heart, and I'm proud of it. And I'm very grateful for all the people that have participated. And like I said, I don't want to stop, but I may change up. I don't know if I might do seasons. I don't know. I was talking to my brother this morning. I'm like, you know, if we travel once a month for 3 or 4 months, then I'll have no trouble putting out a podcast every other week like I've been doing. And if we were to get 3 trips and, you know, 3 podcasts per trip, then I mean, that's a couple months of airtime right there. But inevitably, people drop out sometimes. It just happens, and it has happened. So anyway, I just want to fill you guys in on where we're at. 400 is a big deal to me. It means a lot to me. And I just hope that you guys will continue to share the podcast, talk about the podcast, go back and listen to the archives. There's a lot. I mean, I talked about a few of them here, but man, there's a lot of really, really good podcasts out there. Tons of laughs, tons of fun, and some serious talk as well. And man, I can't say enough thank yous to everyone who listens, to everyone who has listened, for everyone who's participated. And when I say participated, I mean if you've been a guest on the show, if you've hung out during a show, if you've told someone about the show, if you've shared the show on your social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is that you do, if you have subscribed on Spotify, all those things have made a positive impact on me. And as a result, you know, not only do we have this amazing body of stories, and I don't have any trouble stating that it's amazing. I'm telling you, I'm proud of what we've done. No, that's just bullshit. And I don't have any intention of, I don't take that lightly, and I don't want to stop. But like I said, it may change in the future. If you see me make a post that says, sorry, I won't be dropping an episode this week, it's not because I don't want to. It's just because I haven't been able to. And I'm trying to fucking focus on Shenandoah Rose and so on and so forth. But if anyone has been a part of this and participated, it means so much to me. And we have this incredible body of work, but we also have, like, all my favorite tattooers, not all of them, a lot of them, coming to Alley Cat and participating in the magic that is tattoo. And it's so some of them don't want to record, and I love and respect them just as much as any of the other greats that come. People come here and they do spots and they tattoo, and it means everything to me. And Alley Cat Tattoo is full of people that work hard and love tattoos, and now they're known. You know, Andrew's got a bunch of episodes. Porter's got a bunch of episodes. Jake and RIchie have sat in on a bunch of episodes. Trevor sat in on a few episodes. You know, but I'm proud of all those guys and the gals that work here, and they mean the world to me, and I couldn't have done any of this stuff without them. But now they're also known in circles within this business, and you know, like the guys in Australia, the homies, Rosie Tattoo, Tattoo Rosies, and all the fellas down there that came and visited Alley Cat, like they're all aware of Andrew Connor's greatness, and they're all aware of what a fucking gangster Porter is with a tattoo machine, and how good these motherfuckers are. And they're known in the UK, and they're known in all these places, man. And a lot of it is because of No Lies Just Bullshit, and a lot of it's because of their hard work. And you know, I'm just proud of those guys. I'm proud of my crew. I'm proud of No Lies Just Bullshit. I hope you've enjoyed this little story time with Nick. And thank you so much, man. And going forward, just please continue to support and share and follow, however it works, all that stuff. I'm very appreciative. And the next episode will be 400, and it's going to be a killer episode. And, you know, all love and respect to everybody.
Well, the river turned to blood and the fish died. The last survived and so did the flies. Sickness to the animals, sickness to the humans. Hunger hit and the land was stripped. Hailstorm, the locust swarm. 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 Hailstorm, the locust swarm.
No lies, just bullshit.